Most products don't fail on Amazon because the product is bad. They fail because small decisions during launch become costly mistakes that quietly compound for months. Low quality listing pages, understocking inventory, overstocking inventory, spending on ads too early, targeting the wrong keywords, delivery issues, and more. In this video, I'm going to walk you through our exact process for launching new products on Amazon, but more importantly, I'm going to show you the costly mistakes you need to avoid at each step of the process. My name is Manolya Petropoulos from Your AMZ. We've helped over 50 multi-million-dollar brands launch hundreds of products using the exact process I'm going to show you in this video. Okay, so the first step when launching a product on Amazon is going to be Amazon listing creation, and the goal is simply to create the listing in Seller Central. It won't be any design. It will just be creating the product page, and we'll add the information in later. The information needed to create the listing is the UPC. This should be registered, the UPC should be registered under your brand name. If not, you're going to have issues later down the line. You're going to need your SKU. You're going to need the package dimensions and weight, and lots of other category-specific attributes that vary depending on what category you are launching the product in. Mistakes at this step include you could be locked into wrong categories later down the line. You could trigger suppression later if Amazon detects copywriting language on your listing that maybe conflicts with the chosen category, and it could force flat file fixes after launch. Variations, category, and lots of other problems can happen if you don't nail this step right. Step number 2 is Amazon listing optimization, Amazon listing design. And so the goal is to optimize and design our listing page for conversion. So what this includes is strategy first, not just visuals. So actually thinking through a strategy for what is the value of the product? How do we communicate that? What are potential customer objections? How do we address those objections? What makes us different from the competition, and a lot more? And then how do we manifest that into listing images, title, bullet points, brand story, premium A+ content, and product videos. Okay, so what are the mistakes at this step if you get it wrong, if you launch without proper Amazon listing design? You end up paying for traffic if you launch ad campaigns that don't convert. You're essentially burning money because you're sending paid traffic to a page that doesn't have all these things we just talked about: differentiation, benefit claims, selling the value, overcoming objections, and a lot more. And if you are sending traffic on specific keywords to the listing page and not converting, number 2 here, as you can see, is that you start to teach the Amazon algorithm that your product is not relevant for your desired keywords. So we're going to get to this later on the advertising section, step number 7, but you're going to choose 10 to 12 of the most relevant keywords and send traffic when you're ready. But if you haven't designed your listing page properly, your click-through rate will be slightly unoptimized, but your conversion rate especially will also be unoptimized. These are 2 key metrics that Amazon uses to decide if your product is relevant to the keyword, and that's how they will rank you organically. If you do this wrong, you're going to spend money. You're not going to rank organically because your metrics are not optimized, and this just makes it an uphill battle later. You're going to have to rely on PPC advertising. You aren't going to naturally rank the way you would have if you were relevant and you were selling on those keywords. Okay, so quick recap. Step number 1, we have created our listing in the Amazon catalog, and we have designed and optimized that listing for conversion. Step number 3 is we're going to send our first FBA shipment. We're going to send inventory to Amazon. The question is how much inventory? So we need to cover Vine units for reviews with the Amazon Vine program. That is 30 units per variation. So for example, if you had 3 variations in this product launch, you want to have 30 units per variation, and that's just for reviews. Secondly, you want to cover the first 90 days of sales, and there's no specific formula for this, but you just want to make a judgment call on what is your ad spend that you're going to spend in the first month. Do you already have a lot of traffic coming to your brand store, and just weigh these different metrics to predict 90 days of sales. Okay, so let's talk about why Amazon inventory matters. So running out of stock during launch is going to kill your momentum, and it's going to significantly hurt the performance of your product launch. The organic ranking you've earned from the paid ads that you've started, it's undone the second you go out of stock for weeks or even just a few days. When you're in stock again, organic ranking is going to start back at 0. Also, you signal to Amazon's algorithm that you don't have the inventory to scale, and Amazon likes to see brands that can stay in stock and they have the inventory to continue to sell forever. And so if you miss that signal, it's going to hurt your performance on Amazon during your product launch. Secondly, overshipping ties up cash and inventory before validation. So essentially, if you lock up 6 to 12 months of inventory when you haven't even validated the product, this could lead to, number 1, removal fees. So you have to actually remove that inventory from FBA because you could be selling it on your website or another platform. And also you could end up accruing long-term storage fees if you don't remove that inventory. So if you keep it in there and it's not selling, as soon as 180 days hits, you're going to start accruing long-term storage fees in addition to your storage fees. And this is how a lot of brands end up extremely unprofitable or have profitability issues. So you want to avoid undershipping and you want to avoid overshipping. Inventory decisions are not just logistics decisions. They are launch decisions that could determine the difference between a massive success or a massive disaster. By starting with a small shipment, for example, maybe just the Vine units, and then following up with the 3 months of inventory, is you get to actually test the process of your inventory being checked in correctly to Amazon. Years ago, we were working with a client who was launching a new product and using Amazon for multi-channel fulfillment. So Amazon was going to be fulfilling orders on their website and on Amazon. And it turns out they shipped 10,000 units for a product launch to Amazon. And those 10,000 units, the designer, the packaging designer, had used copy-pasted a UPC code for the design and never replaced it. And so 10,000 units were being checked in to the incorrect product. And so it ended up being months of support tickets, removal fees. But it's just another example of why you want to make sure you are starting small, not over committing to tons of inventory at FBA. Make sure you just start with Vine units, 3 months, make sure everything gets checked in correctly, and scale up as you sell. Okay, so once we have inventory at Amazon FBA, we want to create or update an Amazon brand store. So there's 2 paths, right? You could be an existing Amazon seller if you're watching this video, launching a new product. You want to simply add your product to the existing brand store that you've created. Or you're a new seller launching your first product, or maybe you're an existing seller who doesn't have a brand store, in which case you want to create a new brand store and add all of your products that you have on Amazon to that brand store. This does require a trademark and brand registry to create that. So why does this matter? Well, number 1, it increases trust. Number 2, it improves branded traffic performance. And number 3, it helps Amazon understand your catalog. So we talked about increasing trust. As you can see here on the left is a listing page without a brand store. So it just says brand and then the brand name. If customers click this, it just takes them to another search, a search result with this brand name in that. And customers now associate this with not legitimate brands that don't have a trademark, a Chinese brand or a reseller or just someone who has built a brand. On the right, you can see a product that has a brand store and it says visit the Furbo store. They click this, takes them to the brand store. Customers associate listings with a visit the store button as legitimate, trustworthy brands. The bottom line is without a brand store button on your listing page, you look less credible as a seller, lowering trust and your brand's perceived value. So now we have a fully designed listing page with inventory, and that product has been added to the brand store. Step number 5 is Amazon Vine enrollment to get our first reviews. So what Vine does is it's the fastest path to the first 30 reviews, and you can get real reviews within 4 to 6 weeks after your inventory is received at Amazon FBA. Having 25 or more reviews matters because you have a higher click-through rate, you get a higher conversion rate, and both of these together gives you better advertising efficiency when it comes time to start sending paid traffic to the listing. The costs associated with enrolling 30 units is a one-time $200 enrollment per product, and obviously the cost of goods for giving up those 30 units. Now, a little bit of nuance for Vine. It might not be ideal for highly technical products. So we once were helping a brand sell complex cake decorating tools. The average baker, the average Vine voice is not going to know how to use the product, and that could lead to negative reviews. Professional-only products. So similar to the cake decorating, those products were for professional cake decorators, and so there was a learning curve. Again, if there is a huge learning curve, might not be the best for Vine. And then obviously accessories. If this is a product, an accessory for they need to have the original product, Vine voices might claim it thinking it's something else, and then they can't get any value from it, and then they might leave bad reviews. So that's just a little bit of nuance if you're considering the Vine program. But essentially, launching ads without reviews equals paying for clicks that don't convert. You want to have your listing page designed for conversion, and you also want to have over 20 reviews and over a 4-star rating. If you want to learn more about Amazon Vine, I made a video called Amazon Vine, Everything Sellers Need to Know. This is the thumbnail. I'm going to link that in the top right of the screen here, but this is a full breakdown of everything you need to know as a seller if you're considering enrolling into Amazon Vine. Step number 6 for launching your product on Amazon after you've enrolled in Vine and gotten your Vine reviews is to optimize the variations for your product. So what this means is to properly combine all the variations of the product you're launching within one parent listing. As you can see, I've included an example here on the right of all the variations of this baseball jersey. So they actually have 2 variation styles, color and also size, but this is what it will look like on your listing page. Customers will be able to choose which style or color or size for the same product, and you want to essentially combine all the different variations onto a single listing page. The best practice if you're creating a parent listing with multiple variations is to create all of the products separately first, enroll each child ASIN separately into Vine, and then after all the units are claimed and reviews start coming in, combine all the variations into a single parent once Vine completes so that you have the shared reviews on one single parent listing. The mistakes that you can make at this step is missing the opportunity to launch with the maximum amount of reviews possible. So you might only enroll one product into Amazon Vine or only the 30 that is allowed, whereas you could have maybe enrolled all 4 of your variations into Vine and launched with 120 reviews. And so, launching with 20 reviews versus what could have been 120 means less profitable advertising campaigns. And so you want to maximize how many reviews you're launching with. Quick case study for a brand that we did this with. They had recently launched, as you can see, when they came to us, they had a parent listing with 5 variations, and they had enrolled one of the variations into Vine, and they had 12 reviews. They were on their way to getting the first 20 to 30 reviews, but we helped them break up that parent listing back into 5 separate listing pages, enrolled all 5 units into Vine, combined them. I think they ended up with about 150 reviews, and as you can see here today, now they're up to 235 reviews, but this ended up being a very successful product launch. So you want to make sure that you're maximizing reviews so that you can have the maximum momentum possible when you're launching on Amazon. Another quick example of why it's valuable to have over 100 reviews, if possible, this is a market research report we recently did for someone who reached out to us, and we looked at the sales in this category by review count. And as you can see, there's a pretty significant jump at 10 reviews, right? And then kind of, starts to go down, and then there's a massive jump once you hit 100 reviews, and there's an even bigger jump when you hit 200 reviews. So customers trust listings that have more reviews and that have higher review scores. So this is why you want to optimize your variations and sequence it in this way to make sure you do it after you've enrolled the maximum units into Vine. And then finally, our last step is initial advertising campaigns. This includes keyword research and selection. What is your starting ad budget? This could be a monthly budget or a daily budget. So $3,000 per month, $100 per day. You need your campaign structure and setup. You need your campaign budget, daily limits. So your overall budget, and then what is your budget per campaign? And then you need to properly time the activation of these campaigns. So when should you turn ads on? When should you activate these campaigns? You want to have a minimum of 5 to 10 reviews, ideally more, but you could definitely launch at 10 reviews as we saw here, right? Definitely a jump here at 10. And you want to have at least a 4-star rating. So if you're under 4, if you're in the 3s, you want to stop and reassess why the product is not being rated well by reviewers. But once it's over 4 stars and it has at least 10 reviews, you can go ahead and activate those campaigns. Mistakes at this step is running ads too early. So before you've hit this criteria, you end up with a low conversion rate, a high ACOS, and you might make the false conclusion that Amazon just doesn't work for my product's not going to succeed, when really your listing page is just not set up for conversion. And so now we're going through these steps, right? Obviously, we've addressed the fact that you should have a listing design that is optimized for conversion. But if you're launching this and you've already launched your product and you didn't do that step, that is another potential way that you are running ads too early, is you haven't done everything properly in the order that we've sequenced in this video. Another mistake is that you are not targeting the top 10 keywords to start. So instead, if you target broader keywords like category keywords, competitor targeting, or let's just run a bunch of different keywords and auto campaigns and see what sticks, that is not going to be the best approach. The result of that strategy is going to be expensive clicks, no clear signal, no clear learning, and potentially wasting thousands of dollars without learning anything useful about your product launch. So what do we recommend instead? You want to start with 10 to 12 of the highest volume, most relevant search terms. So there are tools like Helium 10 where you can figure out what are the most relevant search terms. If I search that, my top competitors are going to end up showing up or ranking for that search word. And then you can also filter by the highest volume. So these are the ones that you want to start with first. And you want to create single keyword exact match campaigns. This is what you want to start with if you're launching a product on Amazon. And the purpose is to validate conversion, not scale traffic. Before we scale, we want to first validate that the highest converting keywords are actually converting, our listing page is working, it's resonating, the reviews are adequate. And then once we prove that and validate that, then we can scale the budget and scale the targeting. If your listing doesn't convert for the most relevant keywords, it won't convert for broader keywords, and it won't convert for competitor traffic. This is why we want to start with these keywords first. This single step can save you thousands in wasted ad spend. Validate conversion early rather than pay to learn it the hard way over time. So if you zoom out, launching a product on Amazon isn't about checking boxes. It's about the right sequencing. Creating the listing, designing the page, shipping your inventory to FBA, enrolling in Vine, setting up the variations, and then finally turning on ads. Every step, when done right, is protecting you from a specific expensive mistake. If you get this wrong, it usually doesn't look dramatic at first. It looks like unprofitable ads, slow reviews, inventory sitting at FBA, and months of second guessing whether Amazon is right or wrong for your product. The biggest takeaway I want you to remember is this: ads are not how you discover if a product works on Amazon. Ads are how you confirm it. If your listing can't convert for the 10 or 12 most relevant, highest intent search terms, it won't convert for broader competitor traffic or anything else. And finding that out early before you scale your ad spend can save you tens of thousands of dollars. The brands that win on Amazon don't rush traffic. They validate conversion first, they fix what's broken early, and they scale only after the fundamentals are proven. At the beginning of the video, I said that if you stayed until the end, I would reveal the single launch decision that separates profitable Amazon launches from slow, expensive ones. Here it is. If your product does not convert on your top 10 keywords test, you stop ads, period. You pause, you diagnose, you reassess positioning, listing quality, and targeting, then you relaunch with intent. Most of the time, there's a clear blind spot you can fix. Sometimes the data tells you the product isn't viable on Amazon. Either way, validating early on is far cheaper than spending 6 months driving paid traffic into a dead end. If you watched until now, click the thumbs up button so we know to make more useful content just like this in the future. If this video is helpful, you will get a ton of value from our recent video, Understanding the Product Lifecycle on Amazon. In this video, you will learn how the product you're launching today will go through a 5-step product lifecycle, starting at launch and then moving into introduction, growth, maturity, and then finally decline before the product is discontinued. This video breaks down each phase and what you need to know. So click the video on screen to watch that right now. Thanks so much for watching.